It has been 10 years since Xenoblade X first released in Japan, and consequently, a little more than a month since Definitive Edition released. I feel like I have inevitably reached the point after a game's release where I've made most of the guides I was particularly inspired to make, and have made some videos for like a month straight almost every day, and as such I'm feeling that severe burnout and it's been very hard to motivate myself to make more videos. That said, I also don't really want to stop and take a break since my main goal on this channel of reaching 100,000 subscribers is in sight, so I figured maybe today I could make a video talking about Xenoblade X for its 10th anniversary and what it means to me and how it probably was the major thing that got me into this community at all. So let's do that. Let's talk about Xenoblade X and why it's a top 10 game for me all time. Also, I'm feeling particularly lazy with editing today, so don't expect too much from me, but that's alright, let's talk about it. So back in 2015, before this game came out, this game had a lot of really awesome looking trailers that really advertised the world and just how much exploration there was going to be in this game, and I think that was one of the biggest selling points on the game to me. Now, I had played and owned the original Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii and did like the game, and I did main Shulk and Smash at the time, so I was pretty invested in Xenoblade as a series, so this was going to be a day one purchase for me, but I think this game ended up really captivating me in a way that Xenoblade 1 did not when I first was able to play it. Just the massive exploration of the world, the combat feeling a bit more involved, and just in general, there was just a lot of stuff about the game that was really captivating me the first time I was able to play back in December of 2015. So, fun fact, on the character creator, I actually made the original design for my cross, which I tried to reuse in Definitive Edition, but of course they replaced my cross's hairstyle with Malos's hair, so it just ended up looking like Malos instead, which is kind of funny, but I promise this was not originally intended to be Malos. It was actually supposed to be originally my original cross from Xenoblade X, which I created before Malos ever existed. But, you know, it just ended up working out that way sometimes, and that's okay. I just kind of leaned into the Malos on vacation memes because I thought it was really funny anyway. But regardless, this ended up being my kind of edgy, unserious character because I never take character creators very seriously. And I think in some respects that can sometimes even make the game even more fun, especially when the story isn't super heavy and serious a lot of the times. As I was playing through, I found myself not being nearly as captivated by the story as I was just by exploring the world and doing the side content in the game, which I think is probably a similar experience to a lot of people playing the game. A lot of the main story content to this day is still not the most interesting to me about Xenoblade X, which is kind of a shame since compared to the contemporaries, the other games in the series, all of the Xenogears, Xenosagas, and the other Xenoblade games, this game definitely has the weakest overall main narrative. But I think that's okay because a lot of the rest of the game is just absolutely fantastic and just really captivated me and made this one of my favorite games ever. I think there are three major factors that really contributed to this game being that 10 out of 10 experience for me and just being one of my favorite games ever now, and that's going to be one is obviously going to be the combat, two is the side content, and three is the exploration. So the combat I feel is probably obvious. This is a combat-oriented channel. I love in-depth and complex combat systems in RPGs that have a lot of stuff that you can do and just feel like a lot of fun to play, and Xenoblade X really just kind of provided that in spades. Now, I want to make as a disclaimer, early game Xenoblade X, especially before Quick Recast was a thing in the Definitive Edition, is a little bit rough. You actually do find yourself just kind of waiting for arts to come off cooldown, and especially with secondary cooldowns, a lot of these arts can take a really long time to try to get the bonus and really strong effects of them, and it can be significantly slower paced earlier on in the game. Obviously, the things that really make Xenoblade X combat unlock is just going to be Overdrive for one, and two, just kind of unlocking all of your class options and getting more classes available to you. Now, Oma is really fun to use earlier on in the game compared to Crawl, since she has a lot more options available to her, and she's one of the best characters just for kind of taking advantage of Overdrive early on in the game, which I don't know if it was intentional or not, but she ends up being pretty much the perfect character to practice and learn Overdrive with. But regardless, once Cross kind of gets those options available to you, and once you kind of get access to Overdrive, the combat can pick up a lot and be a lot more fun. Now, my very first playthrough of Xenoblade X, even I did not know what Overdrive did or what it was, so when it unlocked, it was just kind of a pop-up box, and it didn't really explain how to use it, so I just kind of ignored it for a little while, which is very unfortunate, because if the game just kind of gave any indication of how to use it, and just kind of how useful it could be, I think I could have had a lot more fun in some of the preceding chapters after Chapter 5. But kind of how it went is I just kind of used normal ground combat through the end of Chapter 6, got my Skell, and then was just trying to take advantage of Skell combat after that. And while using the giant robot is fun, I did quickly notice that I wasn't really having that much fun with Skell combat since a lot of the cooldowns were really long and it was just kind of stand there, wait for the art to come off cooldown, and then use your really strong move, which I found to be not nearly as engaging as I was probably kind of hoping. Fortunately, I did kind of look up some things online later and kind of learn about Overdrive and how useful it can be when I just kind of was looking at some of the Nemesis runs and some of the things I was looking at online myself, which was kind of like, wait, this is actually really cool. And from there, I was able to actually learn how to use Overdrive myself. Once again, even the best of us sometimes have to use guides. I had to learn how to use Overdrive from online since, of course, the game didn't teach you. But once I kind of got it down, once I kind of understood it, it was just like, wait, this is awesome. This is a lot of fun. And what do you know, now I'm the one teaching other people about it. For me, Overdrive is definitely a game changer as far as how much fun the combat can be, because it really unlocks basically all of your options. You have so many new features in Overdrive just from chaining specific arts together. You can also make yourself drastically more powerful, and you also reduce all of your art cooldowns, meaning you can kind of keep constantly using your arts, which kind of give you a significant amount of options in combat. And it also is just a lot of fun to just keep spamming arts over and over. Personally, for me, I really like pressing all the buttons. I like being able to alternate arts. I like being able to just kind of take advantage of those aspects of combat. And I think just in general, if you understand how to use Overdrive, it is absolutely one of the most fun combat systems in the series. I think I still slightly prefer Xenoblade 2, but I really do love Xenoblade X combat as well. I just wish we had a bit more powerful enemies to use it on. Even outside of the combat itself, the customization features in this game are really, really awesome. I love how we have 13 weapons in this game, all with their own unique arts, and you can mix and match them at will to get a lot of unique variety and different combinations, and there's so many different build options you can do, whether ranged attack, melee attack, potential-based builds, even support builds. There are a lot of options available to you, and sometimes augments can also just increase your build variety as well, which I think is one of the coolest features about this game. It has some of the best customization in RPGs, period. And it goes along with the Overdrive-based combat very, very nicely. You also have these customization options that you can put on skells as well, but like I said, I have never been as entrenched by skell combat as I have been by ground combat in this game, and I kind of wish I was. I really love using giant robots. It's one of my favorite things, but I've just never been all that interested in skell combat in general, and it never helped that ground combat was just a lot stronger if you really understood how to use it. That said, though, the combat in this game is absolutely phenomenal. I've always been a huge fan of the longsword dual guns build. I feel like I was one of the people originally when we played the game back in 2015 who kind of perfected that build, at least for Western audiences, just kind of using appendage crushers and just kind of using that to get the heavy hits on the original Nemesis enemies that we had at the time. And I still have very, very fond memories of that time. I met a lot of people doing that. Even my friends that I play with now, Xander, Void, Lawrence, all those people I met back in 2015 when we were doing those Nemesis runs and trying to get those heavy hits back then as well. And it's been a lot of fun to just kind of go through the years with them and play the game even now. I would say that those online features that this game had, the Nemesis runs, the online missions, the Scouts console, stuff like that, if this game did not have this back in 2015, I don't even think I would be a Xenoblade channel right now, because that really is what kind of introduced me to the community. Just wanting to play with people, just kind of wanting to do those Nemesis runs, just kind of wanting to get those reward tickets from breaking Nemesis parts. That's what led me to join this IRC chat on the Reddit of all things, just to kind of where I met these people before the Discord server was even a thing. And I think this is kind of what kind of made me want to be a part of the community at the time, since I had a blast just kind of playing with other people, talking over Skype calls back in the day. It was a lot of fun at the time. Obviously, the Discord was created a little bit after that, and obviously I joined this as well, and this is kind of what led to me being more involved with Xenoblade than I otherwise would be, because obviously if I did not meet these people online, I probably would have never joined this Discord server for Xenoblade, and if I never joined that Discord server, I never would have became a content creator for Xenoblade 2, since the reason I became a content creator for Xenoblade 2, the reason I started uploading videos at all, is because I wanted to prove someone wrong about Mithra in Xenoblade 2 being a really good blade. So my entire content creation lineage can be kind of traced back to me playing Xenoblade X and just kind of being involved in those online features and in the community because of that. I really do kind of wish that I had a capture card at the time Xenoblade X was out. Maybe I would have gotten into content creation a bit sooner, just kind of making some guides for the game, since some of the stuff coming out at the time was just not very good, and I think a lot of us had some issues with some of the videos that were happening then, but I just didn't really have a way to make videos at the time. But maybe if I would have just sucked it up, gotten a capture card at the time, even if the video quality was really bad, maybe I could have started making videos even earlier. But I'm still happy with how things went, and I'm still happy that Xenoblade X is what kind of introduced me to the community and got me more involved with the community, so I could become a content creator during the Xenoblade 2 days, and of course make videos on all of the games even now for all of you. And this all really started with just the combat being as fun as it is. So thank you, Xenoblade X Combat, for being as fun as you are. I really, really appreciate the Overdrive, and I really appreciate this combat system for just kind of being one of the main reasons that I am heavily involved in the community now, and one of the reasons I am a content creator now for this series. The second aspect of Xenoblade X that I really, really just love every time I replay this game is just the side content. So side content in Xenoblade X is just it's really fun to me. I feel like there's so many quest lines that really contributed to building the world and building kind of the lore of the world that it's just incredible. And a lot of the quests have really awesome dialogue and storylines that are just kind of some of them are better than the main story in my opinion. I think there being so many quest lines that just kind of introduce new Xeno races into the world is just really nice as well. There's a lot of just additional lore and just kind of new characters you can meet when that happens. I particularly love the Professor B quest line. I think that one's awesome. I do like the Alex quest line, the one where he's really racist and you can actually let him kill the Manon if you really want to, which is really funny. There's the Manon suicide quest line. There's the quest line with the Definium Downfall, all everything that goes into that. There's the Mia quest line, which is awesome. There really are so many good quest lines in this game, and honestly, I could just name off some of my favorites all day because there really just are so many of them. And a lot of the affinity missions are pretty good as well. I like HBs, I like Mia's, obviously. Those are probably two of my favorite characters in this game. I think the new ones added in Definitive Edition were also really good. Liesel's and Neilnails were pretty solid affinity quests. I love some of the other new content that the game added with some of the new characters that I'm not allowed to spoil yet. And I also like Murderesses. That one's a fun quest line. And just in general, I think there's a lot of really, really fun quest lines, both affinity quests and the kind of basic side missions as well. There's just a lot of really awesome stuff to do in this game that I think is just a lot of fun. I think the way this game just kind of incorporates the world and like all these new races and life forms into the quests of the game is just phenomenally done, and there's just so much memorable about it. Obviously, I don't want to get into details about every single quest, but I do really like how the lore of the world can just build upon itself with a lot of these quests, and I think that is just one of the coolest things about this game just in general. This game has some of my favorite side quests, probably my favorite side quests in video games, period. It's probably like up there with a tie between this, maybe Torna, because I do really like Torna side quests, maybe Kurono Kiseki. I love the side content in that game as well. There's a lot of games with great side content, but I think this is probably still one of the biggest examples of side content that I just really, really love in general. I think there's just so much fantastic stuff here. And then obviously the next major thing that makes Xenoblade X what it is just the exploration. To this day, this is probably still just my favorite open world game in general. There is just so much awesome stuff around the map, so much to explore, so much to do, and all the visuals and environments are beautiful. And you have pretty much a fantastic OST pretty much in every single area. Sawano pretty much cooked in every single area. Sylvalum Night is probably still my favorite, especially if you get the Aurora weather, just kind of goes along with it perfectly, but man, all the environments in this game, just everything is just so pretty, and just running around this world is just one of the most fun things in the world. And it's even more fun once you can get your Skell and just kind of go around in vehicle mode or just kind of fly around everywhere. I think it's really just one of those games that has the perfect level of progression for exploration as well, just kind of unlocking the ability to go faster with the Skell, and then the ability to fly a little bit later in the game. Just kind of exploring the world for the first time was just kind of a magical experience to me, and I do think it is one of the biggest memories I have when I played this game through for the first time. I think the sense of scale this world has is just also incredible. Just the first time you play through the game, it just almost feels overwhelming just how big everything seems, and I think that definitely really contributes to just kind of the vibe of the game and just kind of making this feel like an absolutely new, undiscovered, and uncharted planet, just kind of the scale of everything. And obviously, as you get later into the game and you get the ability to explore the world faster, it becomes a lot of fun just to kind of navigate everywhere with just kind of the speed that you can do things. The sprint button in this game is awesome. Just kind of having those options, those tools to explore in this game is one of the things that also makes it really, really awesome. I love being able to sprint. I love the vehicle mode of the Skeletons. I love flights. I love being able to move fast through the large open world that we have. I think that's one of the best aspects that the game has. Other open world games, a lot of the times you'll be moving a lot slower than you want, and it can be a lot more annoying, but compared to this game, you can run a lot faster, you can move around a lot faster, you have a lot of options available to you, and I think that is definitely really, really nice. All three of these aspects combined kind of form the core identity of Xenoblade X to me, and it's one of the reasons that I just kind of love it so much. These aspects I felt were so good, it just doesn't really matter to me just how kind of, well, mediocre, for lack of a better word, the story ended up being, just because, man, I love the combat, I love the community it introduced me to, I love the side content this game has, just kind of the storylines in that side content, how fun a lot of the side content is to do, and I love the exploration. There was just so many awesome aspects of this game that I just really, really loved that I could just kind of ignore, that I wasn't really super invested in the main story of the game or a lot of the major characters. That said, though, it is still kind of a pretty important aspect of the game, so I do want to talk about it a little bit and just kind of give some thoughts about it. Now, as I already said, I do think the main story of Xenoblade X is fairly mediocre. Did the new epilogue change that? Well, not really, but I do think there's a lot of fun aspects to the new epilogue, and I think after thinking on it a bit more, I'm a little bit more positive on it than I was on my initial reaction video that I released a few weeks ago. But all around, I do feel it is definitely not the strong point of this game at all, and definitely not what you play for as you might play the other Xeno games for. Which is a little bit unfortunate, but I think this game having a different focus did end up working out, because I do still think it is a fantastic game, and still one that is definitely worth playing. I think the two big issues that the narrative has in this game is that, one, it takes a really long time for something really interesting to happen in the story. Like, a lot of earlier chapters are just kind of more introductory chapters for Mira itself, or introducing New Lele, or just kind of introducing you to the game more than it is anything else. And then when the antagonists are introduced, they don't really feel very interesting either, and they just kind of feel like they are in the way, trying to get in the way of humanity finding the Lifehold core, more than there being anything kind of deeper going on in general. I think Chapter 9 with Lao's betrayal was kind of when the story actually has some interesting stuff start to happen, but by that point the game is like almost over as far as main story narrative-wise, and all the Lao stuff is just kind of wrapped up much quicker than it might otherwise normally be. Not to mention there's some chapters that feel a little wasted compared to what they probably could have been, because it feels like the chapters felt like they had to be a certain length long to not be kind of taking up a lot of the time of the rest of the game, since you obviously have a lot of content that the game wants you to do in between doing these main story chapters. So a lot of the writing does feel a little either slower paced in the early game or faster paced in the later game to just kind of wrap up all the plot points of the main story that the game wants to tell, and I think that does end up being one of the major issues. Because of that, I also do feel like a lot of the major cast in this game does feel a little shafted and does not feel as fleshed out as they probably could be. And I will say that the Chapter 13, the new epilogue story, does fix some of that. I think Lynn is significantly better as a character now than she was before the epilogue existed. I think she got a lot in the epilogue that really helped a lot. I think the new character in the epilogue is obviously gets a lot of stuff, even if I think he's kind of a meme still. And even Elma and some of the less relevant characters like Doug, Gwen, and Irina do get some stuff in that epilogue story as well, which I do think does kind of help them at least a little bit. But I do think before this point, before that epilogue existed, a lot of these characters did not feel the most compelling to me. Like, there was not really much reason to be invested in Gwen, Irina, or Doug, in my opinion. And even now, I feel like I like some of the other party members that are not really involved in the main story just a lot more in general, because I like their side content a lot better. Like, HB obviously is a big standout to me. As I already mentioned, Mia is also a big kind of standout to me. I like the new characters that they added to this game. I think the Yelv affinity missions are really nice. I like Murderous. There's a lot of really fun and compelling like affinity missions that I do think just kind of flesh out some of those characters that the main cast just doesn't feel like they get as much. Not to say that the main cast members don't have affinity missions, it just feels like they don't get as much as they possibly could have. Also, it doesn't help that, like, Tatsu is considered one of your main party members in this game, and a lot of times when he speaks, especially early on in the game, he's just kind of annoying more than being really compelling or interesting as a character. I still don't find Tatsu funny. I know there's some Tatsu revisionism going on, but I still don't really think he's that great or that interesting, sadly. But you know what? That's alright. I do at least have more positive opinions of Lynn and Elma compared to what I did before, just because the epilogue story I do think added a lot to them. But as far as the base game is concerned, as far as Xenoblade X 10 years ago is concerned, I don't think they were that compelling as characters, and I think that does make the narrative weaker when you're not as invested in the major cast of the game. And obviously, Cross is not a character at all. Cross is your self-insert who's just kind of there and along for the ride, so you can do and enjoy the side content of the game with a self-insert character rather than the main characters, but he's obviously not really involved in the major plot of the game at all, outside of, like, Chapter 5 Mimia's Elm reveal, and that one time he kind of helps Lynn stop Elma from shooting Lao with kind of the Chapter 11 moment. Other than that, he's not really that relevant and doesn't really factor into my opinion of the main cast, just because he is just kind of there for most of the game, and Elma is definitely going to be the major main character of this game. Now, as I kind of alluded to, I already kind of gave a really long thoughts about the epilogue in a different video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but the epilogue story, if you haven't gotten there yet for some reason, here are some spoilers for the epilogue, so just be aware of that. But yeah, I do think the epilogue does in some ways enhance the game, but does in some ways kind of hinder the game as well, because it kind of backpedals on the entire Mira plotline, this world you've kind of worked to build together, all of the side content, all the lore that you did for all the previous side quests in the game, just kind of don't end up mattering because, well, everything's just going to be destroyed and we're going to have to leave the planet again anyway, and it feels like a massive kind of tonal shift in 180 from what the game was originally going to be about and focusing on. And I think that is probably going to be the biggest problem with the epilogue more than anything, but I will say the epilogue had a lot of really cool lore reveals, and I do think Al is pretty cool, and I do think, I am, in general, more positive on it than I was a few weeks ago after just kind of thinking about it a bit more, but I can definitely see why there would be some issues with that as well. But I do think the epilogue does flesh out some characters more, which I do actually appreciate. I think the lore is really cool, as I already mentioned. And I think that is going to be interesting to see where the series goes in the future. I'm very, very excited for future games in the series because of that epilogue now. If you want some more expanded thoughts, obviously go watch that video. I don't want to kind of spend all day on that, but the epilogue is cool, and I think it is definitely something that does kind of enhance the game. All in all, Xenoblade X is definitely a game that kind of really entrenched itself into my heart when I played it for the first time. I was really excited for a sequel, as everyone else kind of was at the time, with the cliffhanger ending. Even with the story not being that great, I do think we were all kind of looking forward to that Xenoblade X 2. More than anything, just for the new content that would have. I think we were all looking forward to having another game with the really fun gameplay that Xenoblade X has, and it was something that I was really looking forward to as well. It was kind of why when Xenoblade 2 was originally announced, it almost felt like a bummer to me, just because I was really looking forward to the Xenoblade X sequel. But, of course, Xenoblade 2 would actually end up becoming my favorite game of all time, so it ended up working out, obviously. But even to this day, I kind of still wish we had that Xenoblade X sequel, because I'd really love a game with a similar combat system to this, with a similar level of customization and crafting this game has. And even to this day, I feel like the other games, Xenoblade 2 and 3, while they do have a lot of combat depth and they are a lot of fun to play, they don't really have the absolutely insane level of customization that this game had. Fortunately, I do think with kind of the ending of the epilogue that they're going to be trying to do some more tie-ins in the future. I don't know what they're going to end up doing. We know the Klaus trilogy is supposed to be over now, but that ending does kind of indicate that they might all be in the same universe now. We don't actually know for sure yet. We don't know if it's the same planet just yet or anything like that, but they could definitely go a lot of different directions here, and I'm really, really excited to see what the future holds. I'm always really excited to see the next Xenoblade game, and I think just kind of replaying the definitive edition of Xenoblade X has kind of prepared me for that as well. I have put a lot of hours into this game over the last month or so, since the game has come out, and it just kind of really reminded me about the love I have for this game. I think I have it rated currently as like my 6th favorite game of all time. It's my 3rd favorite Xeno game after Xenoblade 2 and Xenosaga 3. I just have a really special place in my heart for this game, and I've been having a lot of fun just making content for everyone. I obviously am feeling a little burnt out now just after everything that I have done, but I don't want to completely give up on the game entirely just yet, so I will try to make some more videos for you guys before I kind of put this game down for good. Well, not for good, because I'm sure I'll replay this eventually sometime in the future, but just for a while at least. If you have any special thoughts about this game or it's left a really noticeable impact on your life as well, I'd love to hear about that in the comments below if you want to just kind of share your story about Xenoblade X, because I really love this game. I think it's one of the things that really just kind of introduced me to this community, and is one of the major reasons I am a content creator now. So I'd love to kind of hear how it has impacted your life as well, because it's obviously had a really important and life-changing impact on my life over the years. So I'd love to hear more of those stories from everyone else as well. So thank you, Xenoblade X, for having a really positive impact on my life. Thank you for 10 years of being one of the most fun games I've ever played, and just 10 years of just kind of making me a significant part of this community. And thank you for letting me ramble incoherently for over 21 minutes about a game just because I had nothing better to do with my life tonight. So, with that being said, I think we're going to stop the video here. I don't really have too much else to say. I just kind of want to talk about the game and my experience with the game over the last 10 years, and I think I have successfully accomplished that. Now, if I've forgotten anything, maybe I can talk about it in the future. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Once again, I'm very close to 100,000 subscribers. Really want to hit that milestone as soon as I can. Maybe over the summer, we'll see. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully I'll see you back here soon for future videos on the Xeno series and any other content I decide to make.